welcome to Street Talk, a forum to connect Canadians with street youth issues globally. I'm Robert Brody. I'm here with Ivan Unzueta of the Center for Development of Alternative Education, or CDEA, a partner organization of Street Kids International in Bolivia. I had the good fortune of traveling for 10 days with Ivan through Bolivia to meet with youth and educators involved in the LIFE project. The issues addressed in this discussion will range from the circumstances faced by youth in Bolivia to open source programming, which allows for the free flow of educational tool sets. So my first question, Ivan, is how would you characterize the relationship between Street Kids International and CDEA, or CDEA?
Creo que el CDA
I believe CDEA is a product of SKI. For us, it's not a relationship just of dependence, but of mutual learning. My understanding is that Bolivia is the poorest country in South America. Perhaps you can describe the spectrum of youth at risk.
aquellos jóvenes que están en riesgo.
Here there are kids at risk and others that already have a lot of problems. The ones at risk may still have contact with their families. They are still on the right path. They're still studying. But they risk falling into the abyss.
Propensos a caer a un abismo. Muy propensos. Están al borde de caer en un abismo. Entonces, muchas de las instituciones están trabajando.
So there are many organizations working with these young people to strengthen their bodies, their minds, their souls, their economic stability, and their relationships with their families, so they don't abandon school for other things. They're fighting to keep them from falling into the abyss. And the other population has already fallen. They've fallen very, very far, to such a degree that they have no hope. They can't even see their future beyond 2 days. And in some cases, 2 hours. For them, the ones who say are involved in drugs or alcohol or glue sniffing, it's much more difficult to work with this population. There's a lot of problems, a lot of emotional problems. They don't just need money or work. They need love. They need a family. They need to form part of a society. They need to cure their addictions. Ivan, several years ago you worked on a documentary or docudrama concerning street youth, utilizing kids that you had worked with in your project. I know that they represent sort of the far end of the spectrum of the situation in Bolivia. Perhaps you can just describe a little bit of that process.
Y la idea es contar casi un día o 2 días de la vida de ellos.
The idea was to show a day or two in the life of these youth. But this video took 6 months to produce because I couldn't encounter or find the protagonists, or they were so drunk that they were falling on the floor and they couldn't react to my directions. To have continuity, I would have to wait days, sometimes weeks. The idea of the production was that the protagonist would be cured. He would come to the institution and be cured, and he would say, "I'm cured," and the others would also be cured. But the reality was much cruder. The young people began to die, all of them, with perhaps the exception of one. They have all died. There are 20 kids in the video, and they've all died, including the kids that were playing soccer, the extras. But during the course of the filming, 5 kids died. So the reality is that none of the protagonists ever got to see the movie. My next question is concerning the rights of the child with regard to work.
En Bolivia hay el Código Niño, Niña y Adolescencia.
In Bolivia, we have legislation for youth and for kids, which is probably one of the most advanced in the world. It is very protective of the family and of youth rights. But this is only on paper. In reality, it's accomplished nothing, because the reality of people on the ground is very different.
cómo han nacido los pueblos es completamente diferente.
The way people live
a
in the
estas
villages
estos,
is completely different than the way
códigos o
these
estas leyes.
codes and these
Por
laws are
ejemplo, en el
written.
campo, el niño,
For example, in the countryside,
desde que
a
tiene,
child,
desde que puede
from the
caminar,
time they
valerse por sí
can
solo,
walk,
empieza a apoyar en el
um,
negocio de su familia.
they
Empieza a
begin
crecer.
to help
Es parte
their
de
family
la
business.
economía.
It's part of the family economy.
Entonces, para el padre no es
For
extraño
the
que el niño
parents,
vaya a
it's not
trabajar.
strange that the kids are
El
working,
niño le
that the
ayude
kids are
en la
helping
economía
the
familiar.
family.
Y más
And
aún,
beyond
digamos,
that,
no
there's
hay
often very
trabajos,
little work for
para la
parents.
mamá, para los adultos,
Businesses
pero
often
la
prefer to
gente, los
hire
empresarios
young
prefieren
people.
contratar a
They can pay them
niños,
less,
pagar menos y,
and they are often more
producir más.
productive.
¿Y por qué es importante
And
trabajar
why
con
is it
los
important to
niños
work
de los
with
derechos?
children's rights?
Yo estoy de acuerdo
Children
de que
need
al
to
niño hay
be
que
protected,
protegerlo. No, hay que protegerlo, pero no
but
dictando
not creating laws
leyes
that
prohibiendo el
prohibit
trabajo.
work.
Porque si vas a prohibir el trabajo,
If you prohibit
la
them
gente,
from
el
working,
niño
then they
va a
will
trabajar
work
de manera
clandestinely.
clandestina. Se va a,
It'll be a
¿cómo se dice?
form
Se va
of
a
enslavement.
esclavizar. El niño va a trabajar de
The kids will end
modo
up working in
que,
circumstances that society
la
cannot
sociedad no va a saber
oversee.
en qué situación está trabajando.
But if we
¿Sí?
let
Pero
kids
si,
work,
digamos, se
protecting their
permite trabajar
security,
al niño,
protecting their stability and their
protegiendo
emotional
su seguridad,
lives,
protegiendo
their
su estabilidad
integrity
emocional, protegiendo
of
su,
their hearts and
su
minds and
integridad,
souls,
digamos, como
then
persona,
we can,
cuerpo y
the
mente y
parents,
alma.
the society, and the institutions can control how these children are working and manage their security.
Cómo ese joven está trabajando a manejar su seguridad.